got some breaking news, and it comes out of the United States Supreme Court and Justice Alito's pen, of all things, as he issues an administrative stay for a week to block the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals and its decision in the last 48 hours to stop the use of mifepristone for medication abortions, not only in Louisiana, but a nationwide block of the use of medication abortion pills that are provided to women in the safety of their own home through telehealth and telemedicine and mail order pharmacies. That was the order that I reported on the 1st of May in a 3-judge panel led by a Trump appointee, Judge Duncan, 3 white men blocking nationally the use of medication abortion pills. That led 2 laboratories that make the pills, Danco Laboratories and GenBio Pro, to rush in the last 36 hours to the United States Supreme Court seeking a stay, because this, of course, upends immediately the right of a woman to choose and make these very intimate decisions about her reproductive health and whether she's going to carry a child or carry a pregnancy or not. And so now you've got Alito. And why Alito? One of the most rightest of right-wing, MAGA right wings of the Supreme Court. Why is he involved? Because he sits over the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is in New Orleans, and he's the first stop on the train as to whether an administrative stay is going to be granted while the court has full briefing. That's our reporting now, that there has been an administrative stay issued by Judge Alito, not by the entirety of the panel, not of the rest of the 8 members of the United States Supreme Court. I'll tell you what happens next. Stay tuned right here on MeidasTouch and Legal AF. Now, I reported on the 1st of May that the 3-judge panel in Louisiana, in a case brought by Louisiana against the Food and Drug Administration, now under the control of RFK Jr., there they were arguing that more women die because they're getting the pills by mail and because they're getting their health counseling through telemedicine. Since COVID, the FDA has allowed these pills to be given through a remote consultation with a doctor and mail delivery through remote pharmacies into states. Problem is that runs up against Louisiana's near total ban on abortion, because 3 years ago, this same United States Supreme Court ruled in a 6-3 decision that a woman no longer had, even though she had it for 50 years, no longer had a constitutional right to privacy or right to choose. And once they threw out Roe versus Wade in the Dobbs decision, all hell broke loose. We've now got a split. Half the states in America are banning or near total ban of abortion, and the other half allow it under many circumstances. So women in red states are second-class citizens because they have less rights than my mother did in the 1950s and 1960s, or at least in the 1970s. So the way the 3-judge panel in the Louisiana set it up is that basically said that since the Dobbs decision, since Louisiana has a near total ban, the use of these drugs, mifepristone, is leading to what they refer to as illegal abortions. They say that, in fact, in Louisiana alone, there have been approximately 1,000 what they refer to as illegal abortions on page 10 of the order in Louisiana per month. That says, to me, there are 1,000 women making a critical choice about their own bodily autonomy, but you see how it's being characterized here. They think they have declared without any medical evidence that the FDA's approval of mifepristone to be dispensed through telehealth and through remote pharmacies, mail-in pharmacies and mail-order pharmacies is somehow creating more deaths. There seems to be no statistics that support that. mifepristone has been found to be as safe as aspirin, not Tylenol, aspirin in most of the studies. And now you've got the peculiar situation where the most conservative judge who ruled against a woman's right to choose is making a decision on the administrative stay. Here's what he's done. He has given Louisiana until 5 p.m. on May 11th to brief the issue for the court, the full court. So we'll have a short-circuited on one of the most major and critical issues related to a woman's autonomy over her own body. We're going to have this on a short track, short circuit with a very minimal record below on just 2 briefs, not 3, with a scramble for other organizations to file Friends of the Court brief with no oral argument, likely. And with Alito holding the pin on and blocking for now, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals ruling. That means as of right now, women can still obtain medication, abortion pills, mifepristone in Louisiana through mail order, through telehealth as of this moment. What's going to happen after May 11th and the final brief comes in? It's up for grabs. Now, in the past, the United States Supreme Court did rule against a similar Texas ban that was brought in front of a single judge and ended up at the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals as well. It was brought before Judge Kaczmarek by an AstroTurf group that was literally artificially created just to file a case in Abilene, Texas, and get Judge Kaczmarek, who had worked for anti-abortion organizations, pro-life movements before he became a federal judge. So he was handpicked by this phony organization. Supreme Court got wind of it, and after much debate, decided that that organization of doctors who had been formed really for the purpose of bringing the case did not have standing to argue against those regulations and threw out the case. So it wasn't on the merits of whether the FDA can allow medication abortions to happen in states that are not allowing abortion. We're going to get to that issue, I'm sure, now with this new briefing, with an interesting array of parties. You've got the labs who are making the drug on one side and a state on the other. I'd like to see some other entities enter the fray with amicus, Friends of the Court brief, to support a woman's reproductive rights. There are reproductive rights organizations that should be busy working on briefs to submit. And as they do, I think they will. We'll support them. We'll report on them here on MeidasTouch. Feeling sluggish? Bloated? Not like yourself. Life bombards us with silent threats. Processed foods, artificial light, and modern stressors disrupt your gut and drain your energy and weaken your immune health. Your body isn't broken. It just needs the right inputs. That's why I've been using Armra Colostrum. I've noticed less bloating, steadier energy, and overall, I just feel more like myself. Armra Colostrum is nature's original blueprint for health. Colostrum is packed with over 400 bioactive nutrients that fortify gut health, fuel fitness recovery, and strengthen immune health, supporting your best performance every day. Take back control of your health. We've worked out a special offer for my audience. Receive 30% off your first subscription order. Go to armra.com/legalaf or enter legalaf to get 30% off your first subscription order. That's armra.com/legalaf. The headline is, as of right now, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals ruling that was rendered by Judge Leslie Southwick, Judge Duncan, and Judge Engelhardt, 3 men in the Fifth Circuit, to stop the use of mifepristone by telehealth and pharmacies, mail order pharmacies, has been blocked by Judge Alito at least through May 11th. After full briefing, we're going to see what the Supreme Court does next. Now, the Supreme Court is basically on their summer vacation, even though we're waiting for major rulings. And look at this clip of a smiling, glad-handing Neil Gorsuch, all all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed on Fox News. Why doesn't he come on Legal AF? Here's my offer. Any Supreme Court justice, but certainly the ones on the right, you want to reach an audience that wants to hear from you? You want to reach millions and hundreds of millions of people? Come on Legal AF, be interviewed by me, and be platformed by me. That would be a good counterbalance to your dining and champagne-soaked state dinners with the King of England a couple of days ago, or showing up only on Fox News. You can't hide in the Supreme Court. You're supposed to be the Supreme Court for all people. Come talk to our liberals and moderates and progressives and socialists and Democrats on Legal AF and on the MeidasTouch network. How about that? Here's Neil Gorsuch, so you know what I'm talking about.
Much. Your book is fantastic. I think it's great for adults too, and I look forward to reading it with my daughter. What was the motivation behind this?
Well, I guess two things. One, it's our 250th anniversary, and we're going to have fireworks, we're going to have celebrations, and we should, but I hope too we might find a little time to reflect on the men and women whose courage and sacrifice gave us the Declaration of Independence. And I've been complaining a lot about the lack of civic education and history, education in our country. And my co-author, Janie Nitze, said, old man, it's time for you to do something about it. She has 3 young children, founded a preschool. And this was a journey, and a wonderful journey. I just love how it turned out.
Well, let me read an excerpt that was one of our favorites. You write, first, all men are created equal, the rich and the poor, the popular and the unpopular, all are equal in God's eyes and should be equal under law. Second, each person enjoys rights, among them life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness that are God-given. Those rights are unalienable, beyond the reach of government. Third, to preserve those rights, the people have another right, the right to rule themselves. The government exists to serve the people, not the other way around. I love that you highlight that our rights are actually from God, and our founders knew that. What do you think that our children need to learn about the Constitution and our founders?
Well, those 3 great ideas in the Declaration are perfect. And it's a journey to realize them, and it has been throughout our history. But each generation has to recommit themselves to those ideas. We're not a nation founded on a common religion or heritage. We're founded around ideas. And so the torch passes to each new generation to carry on those ideas. And the sacrifice that the men and women during the revolution, we forget it was 8 long, bloody years. And ordinary people, not just Ben Franklin and Thomas Jefferson, but people like Mary Catherine Goddard and Emily Geiger, whose stories we tell in the book, help make those ideals possible for us.
Yes, sir. As an originalist, how do you balance the literal text of the Constitution with more modern issues that maybe the framers couldn't have anticipated, like AI or internet issues?
Well, one of the things that the framers of the Declaration really wanted was independent judges to interpret and apply the law who were not bound down by politics. They fought a revolution against a king who had taken control of the judiciary himself. And so an originalist tries to be faithful to the original written word of the Constitution and apply it. Yes, it has to be applied to new facts and circumstances, but the terms of that document cannot be changed by 9 old people in Washington. That's not our job.
So I'm following this story closely. Next development's going to be in about 7 days when I get the brief from Louisiana and we see what happens next. I don't think they're going to do oral argument. I think their amicus briefs or amici briefs are really, really important, especially for reproductive rights groups to get on the ball. I know they're working on it right now. Get those on file and accepted, and let's see what happens and hope it's not a 6-3 debacle. I don't love the makeup of the Supreme Court on these issues, just as I didn't during the Dobbs decision. You got Amy Coney Barrett, who was a Catholic law school law professor, member of ultra right-wing conservative religious legal entities, who has like 7 adopted children, who thinks it's okay. She says, since there's statutes on the books that allows women to drop off their babies at firehouses, with no repercussion, that's the solution. We don't need abortion any longer. I mean, so you got some crazy thought processes that are up there on that. And then a bunch of old white guys and old black guys who've never had a child. And they're making the decisions about the most intimate and personal bodily decision that a human being can make. And look how it's being made. Look at this process. We'll follow it closely. I'm Michael Popok. Until my next report. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.